I don't see how all these people can drive by every day and not be disgusted, sad, and ashamed, and not say, "We must do something." I'll be the bad guy here and say I think it is an unacceptable sight to see homeless tents on the sidewalk. I say there is a solution. It is within reach. There will always be homeless. The question is, what to do. We should admit that the situation is now a nightmare. The issue of homelessness should be comprehensive in society, not just dealing with actual homelessness. We should equate lack of family or spiritual principle in education with the result of people sleeping on the street. I understand from what I heard, there are some homeless that refuse housing and prefer tents on the sidewalk or sleeping on the street. At some point, however, for the general good of society, this must be made illegal, with an immediate solution of taking them to a safe, pre-designated place to sleep. I do not believe it is infringing upon civil liberty to take a person away who is sleeping on the street to a safe, pre-designated area for the homeless. I say we can and must build homeless-type apartment complexes every 1,000 square feet, or something like that, with no drug prohibitions, only crime. It may seem evil to force people into a vehicle and take them to a homeless shelter, but I believe the cost of not doing so is a higher evil for everyone in the city. This is where democracy has failed us. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Not one person wants to be homeless. Not one person wants to sleep on the sidewalk, and the cold, and pain, and shame, and isolation, and dirtiness, and general misery and depression. Not one. Why many refuse homes is because they know they cannot continue their lives of drugs, not working, or other behaviors that indoor dwelling does not currently allow. If homelessness is the punishment section for sin, or if it is a needed experience for souls, there could still be better management. Without a bold, decisive plan, the problem will persist. That may include measures like forcible relocation that may seem as an egregious violation of civil liberties. It's either take bold action, or our city, economy, and lives will suffer from people sleeping on the sidewalks and homeless tents and trash heaps everywhere. This is where I came up with transient specialized apartments, or homeless specialized apartments. Homeless specialized apartments should be a planned construction for the specialized needs of homeless individuals. Features of homeless-specific apartments would include thick concrete and steel walls and floors with highly durable accommodations. Safety features would include safe appliances and power, and a complete security station and staff. Homeless-specific apartments should have built-in helpful resources like general low-cost meal ticket cafeteria, computer cafe, and recreation center. Homeless-specific apartments should have a staffed office for occupants to address problems like health, employment, and voluntary activity coordinators. Importantly, there should be specific, tested, and updated policies to deal with transient problems like crime that will occur, with warnings, punishment, and police correctional facility coordination. Drug and alcohol policy should not prohibit homeless from staying, with a don't ask, don't tell policy, with the implication that just don't make trouble and there won't be a problem. There should not be anything forced or dishonoring that would make people want to return to tents on the sidewalk. Some may fear that homeless-specific apartments would turn into cesspits of enabled druggies, prostitution, or other crime. But actually, these type people will do that anyway, and homeless-specific apartments will not be an enabler of irresponsibility, but promoter of helpful trajectories. People can easily come and go, checking into homeless-specific apartments like a free hotel, and those wishing to stay can apply for permanent status, which affords certain privileges. Data can be collected on individuals and rewards offered for things like employment activities, helping others, and education courses. Studies can be conducted on problem prevention with non-intrusive offers of help as an ongoing study on what works to improve lives. Floors of homeless-specific apartments or areas of occupancy can be set aside according to problem level so that well-behaved occupants are not turned away by problem occupants. If certain people are well-behaved or reformed, they might be transferred to nicer or elite homeless-specific complexes. Proverbs 29:12. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. Proverbs 29:14. The king that faithfully judgeth the poor, his throne shall be established forever. What is judging the poor? While Trump was saying this was the best economy ever, I was watching the streets get more and more cluttered with homeless trash piles. The alarming increase in homeless encampments all around Los Angeles started about 8 years ago, as I observed. But it has always been a major problem. This means, however, neither Trump nor Gavin Newsom are directly a cause of the massive homeless increase. However, leaders are a visible point of interaction for the people, and given the corruption, hypocrisy, and immoral ethic of Newsom, I am supporting the RecallGavin2020.com initiative. We need to make a statement that the people will not tolerate failed leadership, with thousands of suffering homeless people and the entire city shamed with its blight. Venice Beach was a great place where everyone could go to enjoy a day at the beach. But for the last 10 years, I have hardly gone down there, even for a walk, because it was so blighted with dirty and depressing homeless sleeping on every bench and begging at every corner. I had not even realized the entire racquetball courts had been turned into camps for homeless. This is completely out of control and seems like a total lack of responsibility of leadership. This blight completely ruins legitimate commerce, further depressing the area and city as a whole. The more people see this blight of homeless misery, the more a sense of inevitable ruin and negativity sinks in. Everyone suffers, from the homeless themselves to homeowners, business owners, and all the residents of California. It's like, why the hell doesn't somebody do something about this? And yet, year after year, it goes on. The way it's looked to me is that everyone around is so corrupt and unrighteous, none of them can take real action. People have all this money to build buildings, streets, and so forth, yet they cannot protect it from being ruined by mentally ill, drug-addicted, staggering homeless people sleeping and begging all around the place. Now, this hands-off approach to homeless trash heaps has accelerated to new heights of a lack of common sense, almost like someone is intentionally ruining the city. Everyone is so corrupt in their various wicked businesses that now Satan can afflict the city with new increased levels of demon-afflicted people. And because no one is righteous, and our American democracy is a sham of virtue-signaling hypocrites, no one can even get into a position of power to make bold changes for good.
No! Get your nigger hands off of me! Get him off of me, nigger! Nigger! Get him off of me, nigger!
Sir,
Yeah.
film the beautiful ocean instead. How peaceful is that?
It's a public area. I'm allowed to film.
I know, but wouldn't you rather film the beautiful ocean
Why would you ask me to do that, sir?
in the sand? That just seems like it'd be very nice and very calming.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Calming. The ocean's very calming.
I'm not against firemen and police, sir. I got firemen and police in my family. Okay?
Help is on the way. You are coming with us. God help us. God be with us. God be with her in this situation.
Anyone with their common sense and righteousness still intact is poor and sidelined. But if by chance one with a little common sense does manage to make it into office, like Trump, well, look how loud Satan screamed day and night for his removal. Probably, if there was righteousness in the land, and not wickedness prevailing, the problem would start to clear up. But how can we bring righteousness to the land? There is the other side of the story with homelessness. The reality that most homeless are irresponsible and immoral, engaged in various crimes from illegal drug sales and use to petty theft and prostitution. One need only look at the dilapidated homeless tent areas to see unsightly piles of items, some stolen, some dug up from trash bins, but the piles of homeless-owned items get larger and larger. The truth is, most of these people are not trying to improve their situation. They are not looking for honest jobs, but tend to be about shady little hustles, standing around smoking cigarettes or doing drugs. Many homeless are lunatic, their minds utterly lost to reason, or having a sense that they and their homeless piles of trash are a blight in the area no one wants to see or be around. There are other homeless people that are just down on their luck, or lost their job, or divorced, and are not out of their minds, neither do they appear blighted. However, they are a derision and shame to those in the area due to the reputation of most homeless. In other words, most homeless are scum. Even so, it bodes ill that this large number of dilapidated people and their homeless trash piles are all over the streets. It is bad for morale, and it is bad for the economy. Again, there is this hypocritical, virtue-signaling, political correctness to everyone in the city and political leadership about the true nature of the homeless. This leads to a fear of decisive action to directly address the homeless problem in a way that would change the look of the city. If I could order it, I would make it a law that homeless or panhandlers are not allowed in any attractions or high visible areas, and homeless-specific apartment complexes be built with enough capacity for all persons with room to spare. And yes, I would be in favor of humane, forcible removal of persons and property to get them to reside in a local, homeless-specific dwelling for the good of everyone. That makes sense to me. As a homeless vehicle dweller for the better part of 30 years, I can speak with some knowledge about the reality of the homeless situation. I have confirmed this with other coherent homeless, the fact that no one who has not been homeless themselves, without a choice, for years, has any idea what that reality really is. Where this is more poignant for me is one's family, who I like to think, if they knew the feeling of isolation, the feeling of inadequacy, the fear, and the anger of being left outside, while others are inside, would absolutely let no family member be homeless. As I myself confirmed, I would let no family member be homeless while I myself had a home. It is hard for me to call it a blessing, but being homeless for as long as I have has given me a knowledge one can only contemplate from that particular perspective. Similar to any prolonged hardship, one might realize a depth of character and insight into human character not shared by those without first-hand experience of being homeless without a choice. Again, one might consider God's purpose with this, and many forms of suffering, that these temper, strengthen, and edify the soul, as nothing else will. The inexperienced may boast that he would not be ashamed, and certainly not be angry. The inexperienced may feel that they would always have friends or family they could stay with, and they would always be able to find a job and get back on their feet quickly. Thus, homeless are either mentally ill, addicts, or lazy. But, on the other side of death, these will learn what many of us already knew, that there are curses which cannot be undone but by the Lord. Because I know there is homelessness, the reality of which there is no hope to convey, but the bearer of it knows. He is truly alone, as the Scripture says, no man cared for his soul. But God tells us, better to go to the house of sorrow than the house of mirth, and the homeless will one day stand before those who never were, and judgment will be rendered.